Welcome back to Zakima's Ridge Homestead. In this video, we're going to install a third function hydraulic valve on the TC33D because we've got a grapple on the way and we need that third function in order to operate the grapple. So come along, let's do some work.
Hello, and welcome to our channel. We're glad you're here.
There's a lot of different third function valves out there on the market. The one I bought is a Construction Attachments third function kit that's specifically designed to fit my tractor. Most of them are kind of a universal that don't come with hoses. This one does come with hoses. I'm not going to put it on exactly the way the instructions say, and I'll explain that later. But it does come with a pretty good instruction book. There's also an electrical diagram and a packing list in there. I'll take you along here and show you what we've got otherwise. This bag contains the wiring for the solenoid valve and also the power. This bag had the instructions in it, and it also has two small quick connects in there and a couple bolts. This bag contains the new joystick that has the two buttons on it. These are the quick connect fittings that go out on the front of the tractor that the grapple will hook into. This bracket here attaches the two of the steel lines on the front of the tractor existing, and those two fittings go in these two holes. Got these two longer hydraulic hoses. That's what goes from the new valve out to the grapple. We've got two other lines here. One goes from the Power Beyond port to the new valve, and the other goes from the new valve back to the tractor. Here is the solenoid valve itself. These two caps here is where that wiring hooks into. Got a bracket here that mounts to the tractor, and the solenoid valve hooks here, and this is for a ground wire. Not real impressed with this bracket. It's a nice bracket, but the torch work or the plasma work on these holes leaves a little bit to be desired, a little rough. But hey, they give me a bracket, that's all that matters. And this is the valve body that goes behind the solenoid valve. These two lines here will go out to the grapple. One of these goes to the Power Beyond on the loader control, and the other one goes back to the tractor. And there's also some bolts and stuff in that bag there. So that's everything it comes with. And let me get ready on the tractor, and I'll show you where it's going to go, or where it should go according to the instructions, and where I'm going to put it and why. Okay, the first thing we need to do is take the knob off the top of the existing joystick controller, because there'll be a new knob that goes on there, and I'm going to relieve any residual hydraulic pressure here. Move it back and forth a couple times, both directions. That should take all the pressure off. We've got a 13mm head bolt here and two on the back side, so we'll take both those bolts off to remove this cover. Now the instructions have you put the valve right here on the side of the loader arm. And the reason I'm not going to do that is when you remove the loader, this loader arm obviously goes with the loader. So if your valve is attached there and you've got the hydraulic line which will run up into here and also down below, there's no way to unconnect those lines because they're main lines to the tractor. So what we're going to do is put it in a slightly different location so that I can remove the loader when I need to. I like to brush hog the pasture next year without the loader on there, because without having a bucket on it, it tends to flop around real bad and make a lot of rattling noise. Because normally the bucket lifts this back section up because of the weight. And without having the bucket on there, which of course doesn't let me get as close as I want to the fence when I turn, this just rattles around like crazy. So it'd be a lot easier to brush hog without the loader on there at all. Okay, so I got the three bolts out. Move the boot, which I'll have to shove the wire down through this little hole when I put the new joystick on. And we'll take our plastic cover off. And what we're going to work with is this hose right here. We've got set 6 steel lines and 1 hose. This hose is the Power Beyond line that sends power from this valve back into the junction box on the tractor and sends it back to the 3-point hitch. So let me show you where that's at down below. Okay, down under the tractor, these lines here are the ones that go to the loader itself. You've got 2 steel lines here. One of these sends pump pressure up to the loader valve. The other one is your return to the tank line for when you, if you go up with the cylinder, the other side of the cylinder has to exhaust that fluid, so it goes back to the tank through this line. And then this quick connect here is what goes to the Power Beyond that goes back to the 3-point. Now the one difference I have on this tractor is the backhoe uses this line for its power. So when I attach the backhoe to the tractor, I have to pop this quick disconnect off and then kind of run it up under the tractor, and there's a line that comes from the backhoe that hooks into this. So that's not in these instructions, so this is something I have to figure out on my own. More than likely this line will come from the new valve and plug into there. And like I had mentioned, they recommend attaching this valve here. Just drilling 2 holes in the side of your loader, tapping them, and attaching this bracket here. And then the 2 hoses kind of come out this way and go down under the tractor. So if I do it that way, like I said, one, you cannot remove the loader because the valve is attached to it, and these lines to me seem like they're sort of in the way. You don't use this step very often because the loader control kind of blocks part of it, but if you do need to use it and there's 2 lines here, it's going to make it a little more difficult. So I think what I've noticed I can do, if I open the hood here, there's a steel plate right here. These 2 bolts hold the dashboard section on, and there's enough room between those 2 bolts to put this bracket in here. So this will leave the bracket on the tractor. Looks like there's enough room in between here to mount the valve, and then put 2 quick connects on it going out to the grapple, and I should be able to remove the loader, and this will stay on the tractor. So what I'm going to do, as I said, I need to turn the heater on. I'm going to mark and drill 2 3/8 holes in this plate and tap them, and kind of show you here a little bit. A lot of the lines on this loader have been tweaked. Now that shouldn't be out here. Those should be pushed back closer. They're just all kind of bent up. They're bent up here. These lines are bent away like they shouldn't be. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, drill those 2 holes and tap those, and also do a little work on trying to straighten these lines out so they're not so bent up. After I get that work done, I'll bring you back and we will continue from there. Okay, I got the lines looking a little better. They're not perfect, but I'm not sure what happened to those. I'm assuming that the previous owner, or the previous owner, because I know this was a used tractor when we bought it, may have got something caught in there and twisted those lines up. Kind of hard to say, but they're a lot straighter there. They're running better there. They're a little tighter to the arm back here. I drilled 2 5/16 holes in the cowling brace there and tapped them at 3/8. Just found 2 3/8 bolts we had in our bolt box. Put those in with a little blue Loctite on. So our bracket's in place. And if we close the hood, it closes fine. There's a pretty good gap there naturally, so that bracket fits right in. It does tip just a little bit up. It's probably hard to see in the video, but the way this side of the hood is here, it wanted to tip the bracket up a little bit because of the way it's got a little kink in it, which is fine. So we will go ahead and start putting the valve on so we can run some hoses. Okay, this aluminum block is what goes behind the valve. These are where the hoses hook in. We have an A port and a B port. That's the 2 lines that will go to the front for the grapple. Then we have a P line and a T line. The P line will be the power beyond coming in from the loader valve, and then the T line will be the one that goes down that'll have that quick connect on the end of it. So let me get this bolted in here in a rough position, and we'll see how our lines fit. Like I said, this comes with all the hardware you need, nuts and bolts and lines and everything. So for the money, it's a pretty good kit. It is, like I said at the beginning of the video, it's a construction attachments, but I bought it from, I believe it was Idaho Implement or Durattach was the name of the website. So like I said, I'll put that in the description below if anyone's interested in getting one of these for their tractor. So let's put that on there loosely, and let's get this tractor line off and see if we can feed our new lines in. Try to see which is which. This outside line here will be the T line, and the one you can't see that's behind the plate here is the P line. So we'll get these hooked up and see how they lay. And this is the power beyond on the loader valve. So we'll get this removed from here. Hopefully we won't lose a lot of fluid, because we have left the pressure off of everything. It's dripping right on the floor. Now let me pull this line out from under the tractor. I'll go ahead and drain this in the pan so we don't make a mess later. The valve kit comes with this 50-inch hose that's supposed to replace that one. So we'll feed it down through the same place that the other line ran. And get it hooked up here. Uh-oh. Pay attention to what you're doing. There is two different sizes of end fittings on this, and I had it run in the wrong direction. So let me reroute this again. And get this hooked up. There we go. Sure make this stuff tight to get in here. Alright, looks like we're starting now. Okay, I'll leave that a little loose because hydraulic hoses do not like to turn this way, to rotate. So in case this needs to be rotated a hair, we'll leave that loose. It'll make it just a hair easier for it to turn in there. Now I need to figure out where to fish this up through so that it goes to that valve and it does not interfere with the brake pedal. So you really can't see down in here too well, so I'll shut the camera off till I get this line shoved up through there, and then we'll pick back up. All right, it took a couple attempts to figure out where to run it, but there it is running down. Got it running between these lines. Runs between the line stack down here, comes up behind the pedal, runs up to the valve, and is installed in tight on this end and tight here. These fittings have a JIC fitting here if you tighten the light on to tighten the line on, and then so you can swivel this to the right position. There's an O-ring there and this nut. So once you get it in position you want it, you tighten this nut up, and that holds it in that position and seals it. Unfortunately, if you remember the problem I had with the two size ends on this hose, the hose I need to use next has this larger fitting on it, and the valve adapter has the smaller fitting like this line did. So I'm going to have to go to the farm store tomorrow morning and get one of these that has the larger fitting before I can go any further on the lines. So we'll pick this back up tomorrow. Well, I ran down to the New Holland dealer this morning and picked up this fitting here. It is a, I believe, 1/2 inch JIC to 3/8 pipe adapter. I'm not 100% sure on my hydraulic nomenclature, but what it does is the quick connect that goes onto the tractor will thread onto the 3/8 portion, and I will be using the new hose that came with the valve kit, and this 90-degree fitting will fit on the ball end of it. So I will put some Teflon pipe dope on these threads and get this tightened up, attach it to that line, and then attach it to the valve. Okay, that line ended up coming toward the front, runs down through here. Not 100% thrilled with where this one runs, but it's about the best I can do. I have to make sure I stay on the inside of this bar here, because this comes off with the loader. And that may cause a little issue taking the loader off with these hoses here, but I'll just have to do the best I can. That goes down through there, runs around underneath. There's our quick connect attached. We can just put that right on the block here. Sorry about the bouncy camera. This isn't easy to do with one hand. Okay, there we go. Connect it in, and when I put the backhoe on, I should be able to unplug this and kind of shove the fitting down through here and connect to the backhoe right underneath there. So that should work for the backhoe just as well. Plenty of length on that line. So now we will run these two lines up along the loader frame and down, and attach them down there at the bottom. Okay, the first thing we'll do is attach this bracket to the front. It just uses these little plastic pieces to fit on the line. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, these lines are a little tweaked up from being bent, but I think they're close enough. Get this underneath. There we go. Yeah, they show it in the instruction book right about here on this side of the tractor. That one in there. These lines are still a hair forward. Need to pry these two lines back just a hair. All right, well, it took a little bit of finessing to get down in there. I had to sort of tweak these lines around a little bit more to get in there. Next thing we need to do is attach these two quick attach fittings. This will go to the grapple. Got a female and a male. The instructions show the female on the bottom, male on the top. These are bulkhead connectors. They just go in the hole there. Tighten the nut down. The only thing I'm surprised is this kit didn't come with is covers for these fittings. So I'll have to pick up a set of covers to stick on here, because I don't want these out in the open getting dirt and debris on them when they're not being used. Especially the female connector. If that gets dirt or leaves or crap packed in there, it's going to make it hard to hook the grapple up. So we'll get a couple wrenches and tighten those up, and then we'll attach the two lines to the back, or two hoses to the back of this, and run them up the loader. Okay, now that the lines are attached down there on the fitting, we will run the hoses up along the tractor here and attach them in a few spots to the steel lines with some zip ties. And to keep so they're not going to chafe or rub anywhere. If you enjoy our videos, this would be a good time to go down there and smash that like button. Also subscribe. And if you subscribe, you can click the bell, and that'll have YouTube send you a notification when we upload new videos, so you won't miss any of the new ones. And if you shop at Amazon, which of course we all do, we do have an Amazon affiliate link down there in our description. If you click on that link, it'll take you to Amazon. It doesn't cost you a cent more, but it does give the channel a little bit of a kickback. So now on this end, we've got quite a bit of line left here. So we'll have to loop these around and attach them in a certain way so that they don't get in the way, but yet it gives it room to go up and down. So let me work on figuring this out. And then we'll show you this end. One thing we do need to do, this end of these hoses and the two outlets on the valve port will get quick connects. Okay, there's two sets of quick couplers, two females and two males. One male and female will go on the hoses, the other male and female will go on the valve body. We've got the A port and the B port. Remove the safety caps, pull the plugs out of the valves. Might require a screwdriver. And I will hook these up the same way as the front. I'll put the female on the bottom and the male on top. Tighten those on there, which I believe will be, yes, 3/4. And the backup nuts is 11/16. So we'll tighten these up against that O-ring. And then we'll use the backup nut to tighten. So hopefully there's no leaks. Same thing on the bottom here. Tighten this female connector up. And then tighten the backup nut. Okay. And then once these are in the position I want them in, I'll tighten up the nut that's underneath the elbow on both of these. So now we're back to trying to figure out where we want to loop these hoses. I don't think I like that laying on the hood. Yeah, give me a few minutes here to try and figure out where these are going to go. This is the bottom hose, so this will get the male connector, and the other hose will get the female. So I'll get these connectors on here, do some routing figuring, and then show you what I come up with. You probably won't be able to see very well, but I ended up running the hoses down on the inside of this bracket that the loader rides on, and then looping up around the other hoses and coming in this way. So I ended up tightening up both of these fittings straight forward. The lines or the hoses come down this way, loop up underneath, and then come back out. That should allow enough movement for when the loader goes up and down that they won't pinch anywhere. And then when it's time to take them off, I can just pop these two loose, and they will go with the loader, and the valve will stay here. So now it's time to put the valve on and do all the wiring. So the first thing we'll need to do is take the side cover off the dashboard. Okay, this bottom half of the dashboard, there's two bolts that go in these recesses. There's a brass insert inside this half, and there's a hole in the other half that clamps it together. This bottom one, the brass insert, was all messed up, so I just have a bolt that goes through there. I removed both of those, and then there's 2 bolts in the front underneath the hood. Again, one of the brass inserts is messed up, so this only has 1 in it. So three bolts hold this side on. Should be able to pry it up out of here. New hydraulic hose is kind of in the way. There we go. And then there's a plug on the back here. Just squeeze and pop it loose. And that is right here on the key switch. That just pops right loose. With that out of the way, it gives us clear access to all the electrical down in here. There's the relay bank, and the fuse box is right down here. So I will get the wiring kit together, and we'll get the valve on here and start seeing what we need to do for all this wiring. Okay, this is the solenoid valve body. These 2 caps here is covering up the electrical connectors. And there is a right here and a B right here. So since I've got the A up, I'll install it this way with the A up. Backside's got a cover on it. We'll pop this cover off of here. Got 4 O-rings there that appear to be in good shape. Wipe some of this excess fluid off of here. And something else I've just noticed, which makes my assumption correct, there is a little roll pin here, and on the valve body there's a small hole right here for that roll pin to go in, which does put the A in the up position. So that'll fit right in there like that. We've got 4 Allen head bolts or socket head cap screws. Get these in here and started. Come on, where are you at? Never as easy as it seems. Okay, that one I think started. Feels like it might be started. And I am going to have to do a little tweaking on these hoses because they are rubbing on the bottom of the valve a little bit. I don't know if it's enough to cause an issue or not, but certainly don't want to wear a hose out because these hoses definitely are not cheap. So we'll snug these 4 screws up. Now there are 2 different styles of these third function valves you can buy. This is what they call the true third function, where it has the hydraulic fluid running through it, and you've got the 2 buttons to do your actions with. And then the other kind is called a diverter valve. It's a similar setup to this, but it has your 2 lines that will go to your bucket curl. You'll take those 2 hoses, put them into one side of the valve, take 2 new hoses out of the other side of the valve to your bucket, then there'll be a second set of hoses that will go to your grapple. Normal operation with your stick side to side will open and close, or will roll and curl your bucket. If you push the button, it diverts the flow to the other 2 hoses, and moving your stick side to side will open and close your grapple. I thought about getting one of those. In general, they are a little bit cheaper, but it just seemed to me that might be a little difficult to try and figure out how to operate all the time, because you're having to push the button and move the stick and let go of the button and move the stick. And the other drawback on those is you only can roll and curl or open and close. You can't do the actions together, which if it has enough hydraulic flow to it, it may not, but if it does have enough hydraulic flow, I'll be able to raise and lower the loader, roll the grapple back and forth, and open and close it kind of at the same time. So you'll be able to come into a stack of trees and maybe do one of these where you're closing it and rolling it up at the same time. With the diverter valve, there's no way to do that because it's a one or the other. You're either rolling the bucket, curling the bucket, or opening the grapple or closing the grapple. So with that in there, let me grab the wiring and we'll hook these two wires up and we'll put the control lever on the stick over here, get all these wires ran into this general area and see what we need to do to get them hooked up. Okay, what the wiring kits consist of is the new joystick controller, and in the bottom of this controller is this little bushing. It's got a tiny little hole in it, so I will have to drill that hole out to match my joystick controller. There's two set screws that'll have to come out so I don't hit them with the drill bit, and then go back in. That's what will hold this to the top of the joystick. There's also a little instruction pack that came with the joystick controller. We have a fuse block with a 15 amp fuse in it. We have a ground wire with a bolt, and we have two of these pigtails that go to the valve. So what I'll do is get these two hooked up to the valve, and then we'll go and turn the camera around and work on this joystick controller. These are kind of a universal pigtail. Both of them have a yellow, blue, and brown wire in them. Inside of this cap, there's a 1 and a 2, and then both of the ends are listed as a ground. So I'm assuming that let's just make up some colors here. The yellow wire goes to both of the grounds, the brown goes to 1, and the blue goes to 2. So I'm sure it's something along that line. But they appear to go on either direction because that ground wire is universal. So they'll go on this way or this way. The only difference being that changes which wire goes to which pin here. So I am going to mount them both down just because that gets the wires out of the way, and I will have to figure out a little bit which wire is which to make sure I'm actuating them correctly. They just have a little tiny screw in the middle. Tighten that screw up, and that seats them on there, and there's a gasket on the bottom. That helps seat that gasket, keeps it from getting the debris down in there. So we'll have to take these two wires, and I'm going to have to mark the ends of them so I know which one is A and which one is B. And we'll work these down through there. And like I said, we'll turn the camera around and work on putting the joystick controller on. But first I'm going to need to drill it out so it fits my top of my stick. Well, I drilled out the fitting there, and I'm not sure how it's worked out this way, because I'm sure this has got to be some kind of a metric thread, because everything else on this tractor is metric. But I tapped this out at 7/16 20, and it threads on here. So I'll thread this new joystick on. What I'll probably want to do then is, when I get it near tight, is hop up on the seat and make sure it's in the position I want it to be in before I tighten it down. Because once it's set in there, I don't think it's going to want to move very well. Okay, now we're tightening up. Probably just a hair beyond where I need to be. So let me clear the stuff off the seat, hop up on there, and we'll see if we can get this adjusted where I want it. Well, that was quite a disaster. This is obviously designed to be a pistol grip, that you're holding it this way and you're operating the push buttons with your thumb. You can see on this arm, it's tipped back. So that tips this way back, and it's uncomfortable to try and hold that way. It's almost impossible. So what I'm going to have to do is take this arm off and put it in a vise and try and get this bend that's bending back to bend the opposite direction. So it's a little easier to use. And I forgot to put the boot on, which I had done in between taking the stuff off the seat. So let me pull this off, stick it in the vise, see if I can get this bend that's bending back to bend more forward, and that should take care of that issue. Okay, I bent that pretty much straight, and it wasn't quite enough. Bent it a little bit more forward, and that's pretty comfortable now. It fits. I can do the top of the stick for normal operation, like I've always done with just having the ball on there. And then when I need to use the grapple, I can hold it this way. And that's pretty comfortable for my thumb for doing the grapple. And I think I want it turned a little bit clockwise, so it's more pointing at like maybe a 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock position from the front of the tractor instead of being dead straight. That's a little more comfortable on my thumb. So I think right about there is where I want it. I don't think I can get another whole turn out of it. It would be nice if I could, but I don't think it's possible. So I'm probably going to have to use the 2 set screws to set it right like that. And once it's set with the set screws, we've got one here and one here. Once those are tight, I can take the wire and work the wire down through this boot, and we can put the cover back on. The cover will fit over all this without having to worry about being on there first. So we'll get this tightened down, get the wire down through the boot, route it down under the fender or under the floorboard and through so it comes up over here, and we'll bring these other 2 wires in there as well, get those all routed in so they don't rub on anything, and then we'll work on the connections. Okay, the top of the joystick section is done. I was actually able to get another half a turn or so on that and did get it tightened up good and tight without having to use the set screws and then put the set screws in, so that shouldn't go anywhere at all. I've put a couple of temporary zip ties here to keep it in position. Got one underneath where the boot drops down over all this. This comes over and I've got it tied to that. This bracket here is what the bolt goes through that holds the cover on, and one down there. So I figure with this being the way it is, that should give it plenty of room when I move the stick around, that wire is not going to rub on anything and end up getting broken. And the cover, as you can see right down here, it should hold it down about like that once it's on. So I'll put this plastic cover back on, and then we'll go underneath and work our wires up this way and down that way. Okay, I came down from underneath. I ran the wire along the tubing in the back, brought it up behind the brake pedals, and my solenoid wires, I ran them down the hose, combined it with that one from the controller, and brought them up into this dash panel here. This is the cable coming from the controller. According to the instructions, I need to use the white, green, blue, and brown wires. Those are the only 4 that have been pre-stripped. The rest in the bundle are just together. And then my 2 coming from the solenoids. Like I said before, there's just a green, or pardon me, a yellow, a brown, and a blue inside of those on both. This one here has the white dots on the end, so this is solenoid A. The other one without the dots is the B. Now, to get power to this, grab the instructions again here. It is saying that the green and the blue need to go to hot from the controller. So that would be the green and the blue here. So these I need to get to the hot. Now they provide this fuse, and they say you're supposed to use this with one of the like the piercer type connections right here that you stick the wire in and clip it onto another hot wire. They give you a big one and a small one. I don't care to use those, so what I've decided to do is attach it to my fuse block. Now I've got the fuse block out, There's 4 fuses here and 2 spare spots and 1 there. This one is for the 4-way flashers, which is hot all the time. And it also had a jumper wire coming off of the hot from this side down to this bottom fuse. This side of the fuse block does not have any wiring in it because this side of the fuse block would be where you would add something to it. So what I've done is removed the terminal out of here and taken it off the hot wire for this fuse. So I've got this little pigtail here, and I'm going to take this and attach it in this hole here. So I'll have battery power hot here, and this will be going out to the controller. So that way I can just put my 15 amp fuse in my fuse block and not have to worry about having that extra fuse and piercing a wire. So let me go ahead and get the butt connector on this and connect it to the blue and the green wire going up to the controller. I think it'll fit okay. The fuse block goes into the firewall up here facing the engine. So I'll need to make sure I've got enough wire. I might have to put an extension wire off of this wire to these to be safe. But let me do a little bit of wiring on this and I'll bring you right back. Okay, we've got the blue and green wires attached to an extension wire I had to put on that little stub wire coming out of the fuse block. So we've got 12 volts when the key is on coming into these two. I'll bring you around front here and show you. Down in here, here's the fuse block. Take that cover off, and that second fuse up is our 15 amp fuse for the valve body. Okay, with those two done, now I need to cut the length on these solenoid wires. I certainly don't need this long. I'll probably cut them somewhere in this range. Strip these back, and the way the instructions say, the white and the brown wires coming from the control handle attached to the 2 brown wires on the 2 solenoids, the yellow wire or the yellow-green wire, and the blue wires on both attach to the ground. So from the looks of this, I don't think it matters which way I hook these up because it's 12 volts. So it's not a diode, so if it's got 12 positive, 12 negative, or 12 positive, 12 negative, it shouldn't matter which way this goes. It should still energize the solenoid. So I don't have to worry about flipping solenoid A's since the connector's upside down. So I'll connect the 2 brown wires to the white and the brown, and the yellow-green and the blue wires will all get connected together and go to a chassis ground. Okay, with everything cut and trimmed, we have the white wire going to solenoid B's brown wire. We've got the brown wire going to solenoid A's brown wire. And what I did was put a little red zip tie on solenoid A once I cut the end off. That way I knew which one it was. And then the blue and green-yellow wires are all hooked together into this wire here with a ring tongue on the end of it. What I'm going to do is, you can see that opening there with no bolt in it. That's the side of the steering column. I'm going to put that ring tongue stake on a bolt in that hole there, and that should ground this. So once I get that attached, I'll need to get the plate that has the key switch on it over here. We'll plug the key switch back in to that plug right there, turn the key on, push these buttons, and see if our solenoids click on and off or not. Okay, the ground wire is attached up in there where I mentioned. I've got these zip tied here to keep them from flopping around, make sure that everything's clear of anything moving under here. We've got our ignition switch plugged back in. Let's turn it on. Now when I push the buttons, we should hear the solenoids over here. Here's the A and the B. So they are both working, apparently the way they should. So let me get this side cover back on and we'll do a wrap up here at the end. Well, we've done everything right. We should be able to start the tractor up. The lift should go up and down normally. The adapter up there should curl and roll normally. And we shouldn't have any leaks. So let's fire it up and see how we did. And I went in and pushed the buttons just to charge these lines up, and they were kicking back and forth, so they appear to be good. I don't see any leaks up front here. I don't see any drips on the floor. I didn't see anything spraying anywhere. So now that I've charged these, I'll turn the key on and push the buttons. That'll open the solenoids up and let that fluid bleed back. We should be good to go. It's Friday right now. The grapple is supposed to be delivered Monday. So next video on this tractor theoretically should be that grapple. We'll stick it on, see how it works. So if you're looking to put a third function hydraulic valve on your older New Holland tractor, I know the TC29 through like the 35 are basically all the same tractor. Hopefully this will give you some guidance and help you do that. The kit again came from Idaho, I think Idaho Hydraulics, Durattach, and it is a construction attachments kit. I'll put a link down below to where I got the kit at, as well as any other pieces, parts I've used. And like I said, hopefully if you do this job, this will help you out. So if you enjoy our videos, again, please give us a thumbs up. Appreciate you if you subscribe. And as always, you have a wonderful day.